Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That basically works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of PSL, Peshawar Zalmi is finally facing Multan Sultans for the finals as they defeated Islamabad United by 8 wickets. From the world of NBA, Phoenix Suns managed to beat LA Clippers in a super close match, 104-103 in Game 2 on Wednesday. And yes, from the world of Euro 2020, England beats Czech Republic by 1-0, whereas Croatia defeated Scotland 3-1 on Tuesday. And yes, from the world of Tokyo 2020, yes, Tokyo Olympic president defends the decision to allow spectators. Yes, those were the headlines. And not to forget, yes, we talk about PSL. What an interesting match in terms of Islamabad United versus Peshawar Zalmi. And what a close call. Obviously, Islamabad United could not get there, could not manage to break that or make it to the finals because Peshawar Zalmi managed to take that, and Hazratullah Zazai was one of the phenomenal batsmen that they had. But anyways, to discuss the in-depth analysis of this match and what's coming next, we have with us obviously Mr. Awais, who is a first-class cricketer with us. Awais, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alamdar bhai.
Great. So Awais, what an interesting match to begin with, because if I look back into Islamabad United's performance overall, I think they came a very, very long way. But I think it wasn't their night yesterday. So what's your take on the situation? Because if not to forget, in the 16th over, they were 110 for 8. But I think there was some magical batting lineup in terms of Hassan Ali performing 45 runs from 16 balls. So what's your take on the overall match?
It was a brilliant match again. I mean, the way you just explained about Islamabad journey, especially, I would say, I mean, they have played a phenomenal, the Pakistan Super League 6th edition. They were one of the teams, I would say, who have continuously, won the match, except that last match what they lost on. And I personally feel so that they were even favorites to play the finals against Multan Sultan. But again, Peshawar Zalmi was exceptional in the last match. But if you just start from the batting order of Islamabad United, I mean, the real problem started when Usman Khwaja, unfortunately, he was run out. That actually did bend Islamabad United, because the way the form he was carrying on in this tournament. Right. Colin Monroe, he played really brilliantly, but I might be wrong, Darby, but I still feel that Mohammad Ikhlaq, I know he's a brilliant batsman who has continuously performed well in the domestic structure, but it was better that if they could have gone with Ruhail Nazir over here. Right. Because if you just watch out, Ikhlaq, I felt that pressure on him, because it was a big day, it was a winning match situation. You had to win that match. It was a pressure situation on him. Right. Even if you just watch out, his keeping was not 100%. So even that did cost them. But right. Like you mentioned, I mean, the way Hassan Ali and especially Wasim, the way they both played down, they were extremely well. And the Wasim especially, I would say, has shown that why is he included in the Pakistan team, because of his all-round performance. Right. He bowls well, he bats well. What you need in the depth over, especially, I would say, what you need down the order, the way he has been performing with the bat, that's the plus point what Pakistan team need in the limited overs. And one thing is good, that whoever wins, one thing is good from this Pakistan Super League, that you see many youngsters coming up for Pakistan, and now you know that the Pakistan T20 especially, I would say, is in a bright future.
Well, absolutely bright future. Obviously, there are so many hidden gems that we've actually found through this, and I'm sure in terms of in the future, when we're so looking forward for not only the final of the PSL 6, but obviously in terms of this, we have the World Cup coming up our way. So I think all the teams have finally managed to understand the whole environment, because there's a major possibility that the World Cup may be scheduled in Abu Dhabi. So I think that would obviously be one of the plus favors for the team members. But anyways, in terms of overall perspective, the run out that you talk about, obviously Usman Khwaja, he's been phenomenal. I think he's a brilliant captain, and I think he also made his mark in terms of going back home and maybe letting their team think about him as a solid T20 player.
I mean, see, he actually, I remember when Usman Khwaja came to bat in the first match when the Pakistan Super League started on, and even I was listening to commentators and they said that he is more a kind of not an aggressive batsman. He's more a batsman who actually places the shots in the gaps and goes for singles and doubles, keeps the scoreboard clicking on, and he loves to just hit boundaries when it's, I would say, into the gaps.
Right.
But he's shown his talent over here. The way he has actually dramatically, I would say, changed his stance. The way, remember the match which was 200 plus runs, the way he showed what he's capable of doing on this wickets obviously would keep the Australian team, especially in terms of T20, to get him selected for the Australian team, because you rightly pointed, even have the World Cup coming up in UAE, and this is the best chance for any team, I mean, to prepare for that World Cup, because there are even news coming up that the IPL might be played in UAE. So there's a lot of cricket in UAE, and a good chance for the foreign players and for the players to get ready for the World Cup. But Usman Khwaja, again, I would appreciate him just not for the batting, but it would be obviously for the captaincy to remember the match where they scored around more than 200 plus runs. I mean, the way he led the team over there, it showed what he's got, that captain skills in him. So it's a really thing about the Australian, I would say, selectors. They would obviously be watching him the way he has performed in the Pakistan Super League. Unfortunately, but the last night match was a horrible one for him. But still, they might obviously, if I'm a selector, I would obviously go for Usman Khwaja in the opening department.
Right. And not to forget, if we talk about talent, one of the most hidden gems that we've finally found is Zazai. If we look at him, he's been like the man of the match for the past third time in the tournament. And I think he is surely one of the biggest assets that the Afghanistan cricket team will be having in the future.
I mean, see, Hazratullah Zazai has been playing a lot of, I would say, T20 cricket for Afghanistan. Unfortunately, he's one of the cricketers who has not traveled around the world much. I mean, not played much much leagues, I would say, around the world. But the performance what he has shown obviously will open more doors for him in the international circuit. And yes, Afghanistan opening department surely has a great prospect. I mean, especially Hazratullah Zazai. Yesterday, even he scored 66 runs out of 44 balls.
Right.
The thing what I love about him is that his clean hitting, the hard hitting. He's not that kind of a batsman who would actually wait for the bad ball or who would wait for the gaps, but he's one of the batsmen who goes on for scoring big runs.
Right.
And again, one thing, Alamdar Bhai, because I don't know it was his day. I mean, again, the Peshawar Zalmi had the day, but still, the bowlers of Islamabad United had to work hard, had to do a homework on Hazratullah Zazai, where his weakness points are. Because if you just watch out Hazratullah, he especially loves to play on the mid-on area. He has that, I would say, a strong wrist area where he plays on the mid-on. Many less shots you would see on the extra cover side of him because he's a left-handed batsman. So there's some points where you can pick his wicket. But that's the point again. What Islamabad United did not learn, it's the job of Multan Sultan bowlers to learn from the mistakes and never repeat that. Because if Hazratullah Zazai goes on, you know, Peshawar Zalmi has one of the strong batting lineup in the tournament. They bat way down 6th to 7th position. So the opening department really needs to be, I would say, get early breakthrough for the opening department, because if you just go down, you have got Jonathan Wells, I mean, then you got Shoaib Malik, who's in a prime position. Everyone knows that. Everyone has been speaking about him, that he should be in the Pakistan T20 side. Powell is there, you know what he's capable of doing on. So they have got a lot of batting order down the order. The bowlers really need to think about the Peshawar Zalmi batting.
And yes, talking about Zazai, of course, you know, when we look back, he started his career back in December 2016. And in February 2019, he scored the highest individual score from an Afghan batsman, which was in a T20, of course, an unbeaten 162 of 62 balls. So I think this, you know, kid has a long way to go. He's only 23 years of age. So I think players like these are gems who are actually discovered, or maybe they manage themselves to rediscover. So I think a lot of teams and a lot of members out there from the world of cricket are discovering hidden talents like these.
See, I mean, Alamdar Bhai, the Afghanistan team, because I've played a lot of matches against Afghanistan in the UAE, and I know them, the way they have been a hard-working cricketers. Many of them, you know, they belong from the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, from the Waziristan area. And if you just watch out, even the senior team of Afghanistan or the Afghanistan A, the 19s, you have got players who are actually capable of representing themselves into big leagues around the world. And especially about, even if you speak about Hazratullah Zazai, the guy who has played, the Chinaman guy who played for Karachi Kings, I mean, he was exceptionally well. He's an Afghani kid too. So they are one of the cricketers who come from a strong background. I mean, a strong, I would say, a village life. They're built strong, and the way they're performing, it's exceptionally well. And if you just remember the Afghanistan team, if you just watch out the track record of Afghanistan team, in no mean of time, I would say they have gained the T20 status, they have gained the one-day status and the Test status in the world cricket.
Right.
And if you just watch out their players in the no mean of time, they have actually recognized themselves around the world league, around the world cricket. I mean, many of the teams around the world, they love to have them in the team because of the performance. You have like Rashid Khan is there. Now you
Right.
got Abdullah Khan Zazai, Nabi was there. So you have got players who actually been performing well for them, and it's a good sign again for the Afghanistan, because even you're preparing for the T20 World Cup, and it's one of the strongest sides in the T20 again, I would say Afghanistan, because cricket is a funny game. You never know, even they can beat Australia too.
Right. I would love to see that because in terms of their growth, they're really, really hardworking. Anyways, I wish them the best. But let's talk about discovery that is out there. We talk about Shahnawaz Dhani. I think getting in the finals right now, Multan Sultan, and if he manages to make his mark, because I'm sure he will. So how do you see? Because it's surely going to be a very, very close call match in terms of Multan Sultan and Peshawar Zalmi.
Alamdar Bhai, he's one of the leading wicket takers in the Pakistan Super League, and I think so 20 wickets, and it's a brilliant performance by
Right.
Dhani. I was just comparing his picture, the last picture when he was playing a tape ball cricket in Pakistan, and now he's a proper superstar for the Pakistan youngsters, especially for a fast bowlers, especially I
Right.
would say. What we love about him is that the hard work and the aggression what a fast bowler carries. I mean, if you just I don't want to compare him with the other fast bowlers, the
Right.
youngsters coming up, but still, what you look in Dhani, it's that he's hungry for wickets.
Right.
He's hungry for getting that batsman to capture. I mean, capture him as an LBW or
Right.
get his wicket. I mean, he just thinks on, thinks on. I've seen his, especially the character, what he is. He's a positive character, and he's shown his energy, the way he has been taking up wickets, and the hard work what he has been carrying on from the domestic structure has made him to a call for I would say for the Pakistan Multan Sultans,
Right.
and I really see him the way he has been performing. Uh, Too early to judge again, I would say, for the Pakistan national team, because again it's a national team and you're representing in the highest level.
Right.
So it's the time for the Pakistan cricket board to really think about him and get him into the Pakistan camp, groom him up, and if he's too capable, get him to play the World Cup.
Looking forward for that, Awais. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and discussing the in-depth analysis from the world of cricket. Thank you. So that was much the in-depth analysis of the PSL. Not to forget, yes, don't forget the finals is going to be tomorrow. Multan Sultan versus Peshawar Zalmi tomorrow. So looking forward for that. Anyways, guys, we'll take a quick break, and once we get back from the break, there is more news coming up your way. So see you guys after the break. And welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of PSL. Not to forget that, Zalmi will be playing the final against Multan Sultan on June 24th. But anyways, there are more news coming up in terms of the conference finals of the world of NBA. Yes, I'm talking about Suns versus Clippers. 2 games have been passed so far. The Suns managed to keep their lead. To discuss the in-depth analysis, because the last night match was super, super close by, which was the Suns at 104 and Clipper at 103. To discuss the in-depth analysis, we have with us Ruth all the way from US. Ruth, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Great. So Ruth, let's talk about the conference finals. I'm going to start discussing the last game that happened. Obviously, the Suns managed to win against the Clippers, and I think it was a pure game of consistent hard work for both the teams. So what's your take on this one? Because now Phoenix Suns has a lead on them, 2-0.
So I'm not gonna freak out too soon because I am a huge Clippers fan and I understand how the NBA works and how the playoffs and how the standings, how they are figured out. So I'm not too worried that the Clippers are down 0-2. I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier in the playoffs they were also down 0-2 to the Dallas Mavericks.
Right.
It's usually those 2 first away games is when we kind of figure things out, is when they're really struggling, is when Ty Lue, the head coach of the LA Clippers, are just kind of assessing what he has in front of him. So I'm not really freaked out about this 0-2 lead. I know that the Los Angeles Clippers are traveling back home,
Right.
and you guys got to remember you're still Kawhi-less, even though the Phoenix Suns are also playing without CP3, Chris Paul, who's been out due to COVID constrictions. Apparently he has tested positive for COVID. So
Right.
he was under a quarantine period. So I'm not freaking out too soon, but it was a great game last night. It was a great matchup. At the half, we were almost tied. At the
Right.
end of the third quarter, it was almost a tied game. They never fell behind double digits, which is great. I mean, we got to give the props to Devin Booker. He's been an exceptional player throughout the regular season, and he's been taking off in the playoffs. And this is his first time being in the playoffs in the 6-year season that he's been in the NBA. So, not going to freak out too soon, but
Right.
the LA Clippers really get things together. And hopefully Kawhi Leonard will be back by the end of this series. I'm hoping that the LA Clippers will take this to a game 7.
Right. But in terms of obviously the losses, or we talk about injuries, because when it comes to the point when teams get, or some major player gets injured, obviously there is a big backlash, there's a big drop in the performance of the entire team. But I think in terms of the situation right now, don't you think there would be a lot of pressure right now in terms of obviously the LA Clippers to begin with?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, we've flourished under pressure. I mean, we've seen it all playoffs. We saw how the Dallas Mavericks took it to a game 7. We went against the Utah Jazz, having Kawhi Leonard hurt after game. And we were still able to pull that through with the help of Paul George. So a lot of pressure, but hey, that's how we make diamonds. So I'm happy that the Los Angeles Clippers are in this situation, because it's going to be a dogfight, and it's really going to show the league that the Los Angeles Clippers deserves the respect, and they are now the team in the Los Angeles area.
Well, absolutely. And if we look back into the quarters, if we divide them, so all the internally they were absolutely, even by halftime, obviously the entire game was super close. But if we go back
Very
into
close.
the game 1, they were technically a different story, even though they were close, 120 to 114. But I think there's still more, as you just said, coming from Clippers' way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I know that game 1 they found themselves a little bit behind, but like I said, that was the time for Ty Lue, the head coach for the Los Angeles Clippers, to really assess what Monte Williams, the head coach for the Phoenix Suns, what his game plan was going to be transpiring throughout this playoff. So I'm not too freaked out on what's going on right now. They're down 0-2. We have another game coming up tomorrow night, so I'm really excited to see how game 3 is going to transpire, especially if Chris Paul is going to return, because there are rumors that he might be cleared from COVID by the time game 3 rolls around. So it's a whole new game plan that's going to have to be rolled out after CP3 returns, because he is the #1 point guard in the league, and he has really been able to excel with the Phoenix Suns and the offense that Monty Williams has set up for the Phoenix Suns. But we have to give all the props to DeAndre Ayton. The way that he played last night, the consistency that he kept, the way that he was able to have less than 5 seconds on the clock, and less than a couple seconds on the clock, and be able to score, and at the very end to take the lead. It was just amazing. I mean, I kind of got ahead of myself and started celebrating after Paul George landed that jumper and we were up by 1, but I should have known better. There was plenty of time left on the clock. So, that's the way the cookie crumbles when it comes to the NBA. But we have to give respect to DeAndre Ayton and what he's been able to do with the Phoenix Suns, because he's only 22 years old. It's amazing to see how young and talented these players are. The offense in the NBA has been excelling year after year, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch, with Devin Booker only being 24 years of age and DeAndre Ayton being 22, being drafted in the 2018 draft. It's been phenomenal to see them play. And I kind of, as much as a Clippers fan that I am, I would not be completely heartbroken to see the Phoenix Suns take the West.
Well, looking forward for Clipper star Kawhi Leonard to begin with. Let's hope he manages to come back, because I think the injury part is still out there, and I think that would surely, and as you mentioned in terms of obviously Chris Paul, the thing is, even if he returns, the point is recovery from whatever he went through for a player would surely be a very difficult journey in terms of having a quick break and coming back into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw what happened with Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics, how he went down with the COVID-19 virus and never returned the same. He always complained that he had to use an inhaler to help him breathe, because he was having difficulty breathing while he was playing basketball. So a lot of different, outcomes of the COVID-19 virus, but I'm hoping that Chris Paul can come back at full force, and I'm hoping that Kawhi Leonard, the superstar for the Los Angeles Clippers, can also return, so they can have a real shot. I mean, it's never pleasing to watch the NBA playoffs without their superstar. It's like watching the Los Angeles Lakers play without Anthony Davis and without LeBron James, and we saw that throughout the regular season, and we saw how that hurt the Los Angeles Lakers during the playoffs, not having Anthony Davis. So I wish everybody would just have a clean slate and a fair shot, have all their superstars return and play to their best potential. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. The playoffs is whoever could stay healthy.
Well, to be very honest, in terms of, if we look back into the games, obviously, in terms of injuries, if we look at even Brooklyn Nets, obviously, in terms of the losses that they've faced because of this entire situation, if we talk about, obviously, LeBron James putting in his best, but not having his right team members there in the team, and that's why probably we ended up being here. And, we are now seeing a different conference finals. Talking about another game that I want to talk to you about, just a quick word in terms of Bucks versus Hawks. I'm sure a lot of people are focusing more on Hawks side, but I think personally Bucks have actually managed to gel themselves in a very strong way, in a very strong position. So how do you see that game coming up?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. What Mike Budenholzer has been able to accomplish with the Bucks has been phenomenal. I mean, they've been able to have their offense completely gel. I know that Giannis wants to be that MVP player. He wants to be that superstar, but he does not need to continue to shoot threes. And I think that's something that Mike Budenholzer has installed in him, because he's been able to actually move the ball around in offense and give Chris Middleton the chance to be that three-point shooter from the perimeter. I'm really excited for this series. I was not expecting the Atlanta Hawks to make it through the 76ers. I mean, that's a whole different discussion with the whole Ben Simmons drama that's going on with that organization. Right. Wasn't expecting the Atlanta Hawks to make it this far, but I'm glad that they are where they are, because they have that youthful offense that's been able to excel through the playoffs. And I mean, Trae Young, that's all you got to say is Trae Young. He's been a phenomenal player. And I like to see that Nate McMillan is actually putting himself in a great position, because after getting fired from the Indiana Pacers last season, I felt like he still had a chance to be with the team. So he joined the Atlanta Hawks as an assistant coach. They ended up replacing their head coach with Nate McMillan, and now he's excelling in the playoffs, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I met him 2 years ago at an Orlando Magic game in the press box, and he was a phenomenal guy, what would they say? The basketball IQ is very high, and he's easy to talk to as well. So I think it's a great mesh with Nate McMillan, with his experience, because I don't know, it's crazy to say that he got fired from the Indiana Pacers after taking the Pacers to 5 straight playoffs. So it's great to see him back in a position where he has
Ruth,
a chance
to be honest, in terms of obviously the knowledge that you have actually and the wisdom that you've put in the world of NBA, it's pretty much enough for now to digest for us. But anyways, thank you so very much for being a part of the show and discussing all the world of NBA insights. We'll surely have you again to discuss more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So yes, so that was Ruth, and obviously she definitely gave us the in-depth analysis in terms of what's truly happening in the world of NBA. And yes, it surely is getting to be more stronger. And not to forget, guys, you seriously need to put an eye on the next game, obviously Milwaukee Bucks versus Atlanta Hawks. That's one of the interesting games. And not to forget, obviously the Clippers have their next game against the Suns. So let's see how things schedule for them. Anyways, I'll quickly jump over to the world of Euro Cup 2020. Yes, England manages to beat Czech Republic 1-0 in Euro Cup 2020. England tops the Group D with a victory over Czech Republic. Raheem Sterling scored his second goal of Euro 2020, and as England managed to win. Not to forget that on the other match, which was Croatia managing to defeat Scotland 1-0. That was also another game that happened. The Croatian side broke down the deadlock when Nikola scored in the 17th minute. Scotland obviously leveled the match with a goal from Callum McGregor. Not to forget that Croatia eventually qualified as runner-up with 4 points, definitely. But anyways, this was pretty much from the world of Euro 2020. Not to forget, I want to give you an insight update with regards to Tokyo Olympics. Yes, talking about it, Tokyo 2020, the president of Tokyo Olympics have actually he's still trying to defend the decision of allowing spectators. There's still a lot of debate in terms of the COVID-19 situation all across the globe. But I think if they think they can manage the whole situation in terms of, managing those tests and, keeping that distance and maybe getting people who are vaccinated, it's technically going to be super, super hard. But let's see. And, they have actually allowed around 10,000 of these spectators as per them. And, but foreign visitors are banned to enter Tokyo Olympics. So let's hope all goes well. And obviously, the opening ceremony is set for 23rd of July. Anyways, guys, this was pretty much it from the world of sports. If you guys want to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That basically works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, take good care of yourselves, and bye-bye.